At least 7 Afghans have died now in a panic crush of people trying to get into Kabul's international airport, as thousands are still trying to flee the country in a chaotic exodus a week after the Taliban has taken over. Let's welcome in former Chief of Staff to the National Security Council and CIA analyst and staff member to the House Intel Committee, Fred Fleitz. Fred, always good to see you, and we always appreciate your insight. White House officials have been saying that there have been approximately 30,000 people evacuated from Afghanistan since the end of July, with over 25,000 since August 14th. So the president is saying, and he said it yesterday from the Roosevelt Room at the White House, we're making progress. But what are your sources on the ground telling you?
This is a very serious situation. This is a tinderbox. The Taliban is now saying it will not extend the August 31 deadline.
Right.
I think there's a real risk of al-Qaeda and ISIS infiltrating these crowds and attacking Americans, attacking people to wait to get into the airport. And look, if this deadline is not extended, what will happen then? I think we're looking at it. I think we all knew the outcome of this is going to be very bad. We have to get out as many people as possible. Fortunately, there's been some progress in freeing up the backlog of flying people to Qatar and then to other locations. But there's no good outcome out of this, and I'm very worried what's going to happen on the 31st of this month.
Yeah, Fred, I mean, we're now begging the Taliban not to kill our people. That's the situation that we are in. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was defending the president, saying that there were just no good options in the decision to withdraw troops from Afghanistan. Take a listen to this.
We came in and we were faced with a May 1 deadline to have all forces out of the country. This deal had been struck with the Taliban. And so he had to very rapidly go through a detailed assessment and look at all options in terms of what he could do. And none of those options were good options.
Fred, what's your response to that?
President Trump planned a conditions-based withdrawal and would have used force to make sure the Taliban honored its commitments. This agreement didn't have to be implemented the way that we just heard. We are seeing a Secretary of Defense who is lying to back up a president who is lying, and a president who apparently has lost control of his faculty. He is giving press conferences saying all kinds of things that the American people simply know are not true. That's why a mainstream reporter asked him yesterday what he thought of a poll that most Americans think he is not qualified to be commander-in-chief. This is just stunning that a mainstream reporter would ask a Democratic president such a thing. That's where Joe Biden is going.
Yeah, speaking of which, Secretary of State Antony Blinken had to correct the president on the status of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. The president has said, and he has said it repeatedly, we're getting out because al-Qaeda isn't here anymore. But that's not true. Please talk to us about al-Qaeda's status and perhaps even more importantly, the status of other terror groups that are operating in that region that could eventually find safe haven now in the country.
Well, Blinken tried to correct that misstatement by Biden by saying, well, al-Qaeda doesn't have the strength it had on 9/11 to launch another 9/11-like attack. But al-Qaeda has a substantial presence in Afghanistan that has been growing. So does ISIS, I might add. Now, ISIS has had differences with the Taliban. My guess is that those differences are going to go away. There are al-Qaeda cells that have been operating in Iran since we invaded Afghanistan. They're going to go back into Afghanistan now. There's a substantial al-Qaeda presence, and this was simply Blinken trying to clean up after another statement by Joe Biden that just is at odds with reality.
Fred, the Taliban, as you pointed out, have said that they will not extend the deadline for the troop pullout. We're in a real race against time here. They have a week, essentially. Do you think that this can be done without a change in the operational posture and strategy? Do you believe that we're going to need to extend the perimeter, that we're going to have to engage our special forces to go and get our people and some of these Afghans? Do you think we're going to have to do what Lindsey Graham was saying is we should go back in and we should get control of Bagram Air Base again and make sure that we can operate that to ensure we can get as many people out as possible? Do you think we can do this?
The president said the perimeter around the airport is being extended. I'm not sure that has happened yet. But look, we have enough military force at the Kabul airport to negotiate better terms with the Taliban. But we're not doing that, and we're limiting the use of our military to rescue Americans because Biden is so risk averse.
Yeah.
That's why we hear these stories of other countries using special forces and helicopters to rescue their nationals in Kabul. And in some instances, they're rescuing Americans. That's what the British have done. But the U.S. isn't doing this. It may have recently started on a limited scale over the last few days or so. But I mean, Biden has basically tied the hands of our military in this area. I don't think trying to take back Bagram Air Base is a good idea. That would require a substantial number of U.S. troops. Biden isn't going to do that. I think we just have to negotiate the best terms we can, use our military force to try to get better terms with the Taliban. But we're negotiating with a terrorist group that can't be trusted. This is just an impossible situation.
All right. Well, thank you, Fred. Our thoughts and our prayers continue to go out to our troops and everybody who is stranded there in Afghanistan under Taliban rule. Appreciate your insights.
Good to be here.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.